Okay. Okay. So back to the subject was that we're going to reconcile. We reconciled already the Mishnah. Everything's good. We had one teres was that machlokes if a beaver is considered trapped or not. We reviewed our bonan. And second teres was as far as not second teres. A different issue about the birds was depends what kind of bird. And now the Gemara is going to say that you don't have to make a machlokes reviewed Rabbanan. There is a machlokes, but we can say both Mishnahis and the Bryce are both going to Rabbanan, and it depends how big this beaver is. Because even our Mishnah that says that it's considered trapped is only when it's a small one, but if it's a big one, then our Mishnah also would agree that it's not considered trapped. And the Bryce that says you're not allowed to take it out of the beaver because it's too big. And now the Gemara goes in to talk about how big is that, and the Mishnah stuff really said, excuse me, we saw that Shimon Gamliel says local like beaver and shovin, Zeklal, Mechus Seda. So really was opening up a window on that. What's considered too big that it's not considered trapped? What's considered small that it is considered trapped? What is that demarcation? So the Mepharshim explained that if you could catch it in one chase, some people explain it means one jump. I don't think it means one jump. It means one chase. That's enough to be considered trapped. But if he has to rest in between, that he had a chase, but it's not enough, so then that's considered too big and it's not considered trapped. You wouldn't be allowed to take it out of there. Inami, another criteria how to judge it. They say maybe he's not arguing, but different aspects. If there are places that are there are protrusions in a way that he could dodge in and out and avoid you, so then that's considered too big because it's not easy to catch him. But if it's a straight open space, so then it's considered closed. Again, it has to do with the first.
So Rebbe, when Mike Havus and I were talking about these two terutzim, basically when you think into them, there's a bit of a problem with them, because we're not talking about tircha here. We're talking about whether it's actually really trapped or not. So the two terutzim are kind of being matle. They're depending the teretz on not if it's really actually trapped or not, but how easy it is to finish the process. And it's a little bit fair, isn't it?
No, I don't think so, because if it's so easy to get, so then it's considered trapped already. It's not a question of tircha. It's a question of if it's considered under your hand. If you can get it in one chase, that's it. It's already in the bag already. Of course, I have to get it, but that's called only getting it. It's already in the bag. But if I have to mamish run around and I'm not successful till a couple of times, so that means that it's not yet under my hand. So I think the issue is not tircha. The issue is if it's considered already trapped. So the first issue was if you can catch it in one chase. Second one says if it has protrusions that are in this enclosure in a way that it could dodge you, so then it's also maybe makes it too big. And the third criteria is if the shadow of the walls they reach each other. It means that when the sun is casting a shadow, so the shadow of the one wall is going to go till the next wall. That's considered small.
Okay, Rebbe, I guess what bothers me is that we're not really talking about anymore the distinction between domesticated and not domesticated. We're only really talking about the distinction between if it's already under my captivity, so it's got a different status than if I still need to be sholet on it.
Right. Is it considered trapped already? Right, nachon. The last thing of the shadow, so here Tosh has a problem that depends how tall the walls are. And also I would add on, it depends what time of the day. That the shadow that's going to be cast by the sun, the heart depends what time of the day and what size how high the walls are. Tosh says it must be a standard height of the walls. And he doesn't talk about what time of the day. I would venture to say, Pshat, that I didn't see, but maybe that it really depends on the time of the day and how big the walls are. If the animal feels that he's in the shadow, so then he feels caught. It's something psychological. But if he feels that he's running in the sun, so then he feels like he's not caught in. So I didn't see this shot, but I think that it would answer all the conscious that you don't have to say there's a standard height of the walls, and you don't have to say it's a certain time of the day. If right now when you're going to catch this animal, the shadows of the wall reach the next wall, so the animal feels closed in, and therefore he's going to be easy to catch. But if he feels like he's in the open, he's going to run around, and it's hard to catch him. So the post can talk about the next Gemara coming up still, one more Gemara about what the shir is. So far I gave 3 different shirim. The Chara will say that they don't argue, or they have to have all of them in order to be true.
Rebbe, there's actually a very good smach for what your Peshat is saying in the work of PTSD, because there is a phenomenon in nature known by predated animals that when the predator actually gets them,
they give up. You got cut off.
He gave up.
Something got disconnected, but if you get on soon, so please tell us again. I'm just going to continue. I hope that you're hearing us. I don't hear you. Okay, I don't mean to cut you off, but you're not audible now. The mission
okay, there
continues.
are predatory animals that will not continue eating or destroying an animal that's already dead. So by that animal shutting down its complete process, as soon as it's attacked, it ends up saving its life, because 10 minutes later, when it comes back to life, the other animal left already.
But up here, it's talking about the one that's being caught. If he feels trapped in, he's not gonna run away so much because he feels already closed in. Okay.
Right. It's talking about freeze, fight, flight, or freeze response, and how the animal responds based on what it perceives.
Right. Okay, good, wonderful. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, lo kali b'var and shavin, it depends. And the Rav Shimon Gamliel is also saying what we just finished saying, that not all the same size. It's surprising that the Gemara that didn't bring this down 2 lines ago. That when it said that people cut, and that's the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that it depends what size it is. Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yudah, Amar Shmuel, Rav Shimon Gamliel. First white line, you pass like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that it depends how big it is. If it's small, then it's a trap. If it's big, it's not considered a trap. Abaye asked Rav Yosef, why are you saying the lacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel? It sounds like someone's arguing. Tanakama argues. No one argues. Isn't Rav Shimon Gamliel just to explain the Tanakama? What's the difference? It's even better. If he said that no one argues, then it's even more than halacha. I said the halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel. You're saying no one argues on him even. It's even better. Amalei, Gemara is more today. Just to learn Gemara as if it's a song. As Rashi explains that you're supposed to learn Gemara. It's supposed to make sense. You don't just say the words if it doesn't make sense. So just sing along the words even if it does not, that doesn't make sense. So he's asking that you don't say halacha if there's not a machlokis. If there's a machlokis, then it makes sense to say halacha. If it's not a machlokis, you don't say halacha. So Abaye said that you have to be accurate. That if there's no machlokis, you don't say halacha. You just say that the Shimon Gamliel and the Rabbanan agree. Everybody agrees to this point that if it's a big beaver, it's not considered trapped. If it's small, it is considered trapped. And that's how the Gemara went a few lines ago, and that's what seems how we pass him. The Mishnah continues. So the Mishnah itself, Rav Shimon Gamliel said that not all are the same. He said that it depends. If it's lacking be trapping still, that even though it's in the beaver, it's still lacking to be trapped. You still have to run after it, whatever. So the Gemara asks now an interesting question, which we just finished discussing. What's considered that it's still lacking trapping? So didn't we have the whole sugi about that? We had that if you have to catch it in one chase, or if it has protrusions where it could dodge you, or if the shade of the walls fall onto the next wall. So Taisha says because of this kasha that maybe this Gemara is talking about birds and not necessarily in animals. Animals we spoke about already. But now, is there some kind of shear that you could say as far as birds go? The rule of the thumb is, if you say, get a net, we need a net still. If you need a net to still catch it, even though it's in the beaver, it still need a net, then it's not considered caught. But if it's so small that you don't need a net, we'll manage without the net, so then it's considered trapped already. Abaye is a kasha on this rule of the thumb because geese and chickens, you do sometimes need a net in order to catch them. If your own geese and chickens, if they start walking away, sometimes it's hard to catch them, and you do need a masuda sometimes. But the Brisa says that if somebody would trap geese or chickens, and you only have the seals. Rashi says how the seals either is the name of a place, or he says it means Herodus, and they might have raised these kind of pigeons. So you put if you catch them. So it seems that they're enough considered caught without any. It doesn't talk about how big its enclosure it is. Doesn't talk about an enclosure. It just seems to talk about that it's easy. It's easy to catch. And the Gemara is asking, but they're easy to catch. Still means you need a net sometimes. So according to Shmuel's rule of the thumb, that if you need a net to catch it, it's not considered trapped. So how come it says if you trap geese and chickens and you only have the sea as shipota, it's already it is too much to be considered trapped already. You do need a masuda to catch them. So it's a kasha on Shmuel. The reason really my klal is right. that if you need a net to trap them, they're not considered trapped yet. But the reason why geese and chickens are different is because they come home on their own. Even if you leave them run away, and you can't catch them now, you must leave them. They're going to come home. They come home back to their coop, and therefore they're considered in the bag, even if it takes me a couple hours till the evening. But in the evening, they're going to come home by themselves, so they're not considered trapped. Even if now I'm going to go to catch them, it's not considered trapping them because they're already in the bag because they're going to come home at night anyway. The Master Kasha on that. Yoni Shovach, Yoni Aliyah, the Bona Kluv and Lair, but Tanya Sat, Yoni Shovach, Yoni Aliyah, if it's a form, she can do Batikich and Bebiros, Chayo. According to your new cloud, that if they come home at night, so then they're considered trapped. But I know some kind of birds that are like that, and they are considered chayiv if you trap them. Yoni Shovach, we had the whole thing of Yoni Shovach in the beginning of the Masechta, that if you have Yonim pigeons that are in whatever Shovach, I don't know what the word for the Shovach is, but you make the Shovach and then they come, they live over there. A dovecote and Yoni Aliyah, which also means like you make it on top of your house, you make a place for Yonim and they come, which you see people do that. They make some kind of a shack and Yonim come to take a nest over there. And also it says here about Siporim Shekinu B'Tefichin. Rashi says that you'd make some kind of a jug that you stick into the wall or something. Maybe you build it into the wall, and the birds they take nest over there. So all these, they also, the Gemara says that they come home by themselves, even if you don't trap them, they're going to come home at night. But it says if you trap them, you are chayiv. So this rule about coming home at night makes that as considered already trapped. It's not so simple. You see that you're chayiv sometimes. So what's the difference between the geese and the chicken that you putter and these Yoni Aliyah, Yoni Shovach that you still considered chayiv? There's another fact you have to add on, that also you're the one who feeds them. These yonim, they don't need you. They get their own food. They don't need you at all. So therefore, even though they come home, it's not considered that they're trapped. I guess the point is because they can go someplace else. They don't not much need you. But these chickens and geese, they come home naturally. They have a natural instinct to come home, and they have to come home because they need you for the food. So therefore, they're considered more already under your captivity. It says the difference between the birds is that when you go to their whatever the word is going to be, their coop or their compartment that you want to get them. So the Yoni Shovach, they're still going to jump. They're going to avoid you. But the chickens and the geese, once they come home at night, and then it's in the bag because I go over to them and they're there. I got them. But if you have the Yoni Aliyah, Yoni Shovach, even though they're coming home, but when you try to catch them, they are still jumping around. They're still avoiding. And that's why the Gemara Tosfos says in the beginning of the Masechta when we spoke about Yoni says that Seder, he says, how could you catch them? Here the Gemara says that Yoni Aliyah, Yoni Shovach is considered trapping. So Tosfos says it's still about that they're young and they don't fly yet. So then you want to take them on Yantif. Those are the ones you have to get on Yantif. The Gemara says, they all, it's hard to catch them. They all jump away. So I think Rashi explains these words mean that when you try to catch them in their nest, here's Rashi. Rashi, I'm sorry, it's small, but the second wide line. That they avoid you, they run away from you when you try to catch them, and even when they go to their apartment and you try to go there, they also go to the leg. So that's why they're not considered caught until, even though they come home to their compartment, because even there they're not yet caught. So more or less that was a studio about Seder. But we say that as far as fish, you never got to take the fish. Even in small pond, even in a small pond, you never got to take the fish. And and considered what's in a house, and we don't pass like that. Even in a gina chatzar, bevor is also considered trapped. And as far as trapping them from the wild into that small enclosure is going to be chayiv. But here we're talking about the opposite case. It's already in the bevor, and you want to take it out of there on yantif. So if it's in the bevor katan, so we said that it's considered trapped already. You're allowed to take it out. What is the bevor katan? We had a couple of shiurim about catching it in one chase, and that there's no protrusions that is able to dodge you, and that the shade of one wall will reach the other wall. As far as birds, it talks about, according to Tosfos' Strat, that the shear is if you say we need a net, that's considered not trapped. But if you don't need a net to catch it, then it's considered trapped. You'll be allowed to take it. The Gemara talks about geese, that even though you do need a trap, the chickens and geese, they're not considered wild. They're considered trapped already because they come home naturally to their home, and they need you for the food. In contrast to other birds that they don't need you for the food, they're not considered trapped. And the last thing was another terrace about that even when they come home to that trap, they still avoid you when you come to close in on them. So this was the gap at the times when people would do this and take the bird or the animal or the fish to make it on. Nowadays, the halacha is still true, but people don't do it too much because they have it in the freezer already, and maybe it's cooked even already. So people don't do the application too much, but the halacha is still true. The next halacha talks about, yes?
How do we define properly beaver?
Vivarium. I found the word. It's a word in an English dictionary, vivarium, and it means a place, a habitat a man-made habitat for animals, or fish or birds.
Oh, fish or bird.
Right. That's how it answers the question everyone's asking. That which one is it? So the word vivarium, like the vivid part, means the alive. Any place that you make for a habitat of the living. What's living? Anything. So it took me a long time to figure out this word, and I found it one time. I was very excited that the word beaver, we call it beaver, but it's not a beaver, it's a beaver, vivarium. Vivarium. I forgot where I found it, but I was very excited about it. Vivarium.
Because we see it twice the fish.
Right. And the dictionary, it also says it could be any living thing. Vivarium.
So even animals also.
Animals also, right. Some kind of this. It's not a corral because it's for deer. It's not for domestic animals.
In the Jerusalem Zoo, they have a very, very good one for tropical birds, which it's like you're in there and there's all kinds of tropical vegetation and the birds flying everywhere. And there is a kind of a roof, but it feels like you're outside, but you're actually inside.
But as far as us, it still might be not trapped. As far as Yantif, let's say, that would be too big maybe, and Havei and Sudan and Sudan. If you want to catch one of those birds, could be that's not so easy. That depends on, like the Gemara says, what's considered one catching and one. If it's easy to catch them once they're inside there. Okay, the Mishnah continues now. This is talking about setting a trap. Till now we spoke about that it's in some kind of an enclosure, and we want to know, is it considered trapped? Now it talks about that you set the trap before Yantif, and you want to know, was it trapped? When Yantif came in, once it's in the trap, now it's trapped. There's no question, you got it in there, its foot is caught. But the question is, when did it happen? And this is the question of Muktzah. When Yantif came in, if it wasn't trapped yet, even though now it's trapped, no question about trapping now, it's already trapped. But what happened with Ben Hashmoshes? Was it trapped already? If it wasn't trapped yet, so then it was Muktzah Ben Hashmoshes, and even though now you caught it, the trap, you didn't do any Avera, you set the trap before Yantif. But now that it's trapped, that it could be that no issue of trapping, but it's Muktzah because Ben Hashmoshes was not yet trapped. That's what the Mishnah talks about. If you made the trap, you set the traps for all these things, animals, birds, fish, before Yom Tif, and now it's already trapped. No problem of saved anymore. But the issue is, you can't take an Yom Tif, even though it's trapped already, because you don't know if it happened before Yom Tif. If it happened before Yom Tif, then it's good, wonderful. But if not, then it'll be Muktzah, because it was Muktzah Ben Hashmoshes, it's Muktzah the rest of Yom Tif. So you have to know for sure. And the Tanna Kama holds that Safek Mukhan is going to be us. If you're not sure, you can't take it. That's what the Mishnah is hinting to, that you have to know for sure that it was trapped before Yantif, then it's not Muktzah. But if you're not sure, you have to be machmer that maybe it wasn't trapped until Yantif, and then Ben Hashmoshes was Muktzah. But then the Mishnah brings a story which is the opposite. A guy brought fish to Rabbi Gamliel on Yantif. So we don't know when the guy caught it. Did the guy catch it on Yantif? Did he catch it before Yantif? So that's the question. Is it considered Muktzah? It's surely trapped already. The guy's giving you a present. But the question is, do you have to be Choshesh that he got it on Yantif? And the Leila, when Yantif came in, it was not yet caught. So it's Muktzah. So he said that it's Mutter, which is against Tanna Kama. Tanna Kama said that it's Asa. You have to know for sure that it was trapped before Yantif. By the guy, you don't know when it was trapped. You don't know when the guy trapped it before Yantif. He trapped it on Yantif. But the Rebbe Gamliel says it's really Mutter. Ella she'ein mitzoni l'kabel minhu. I don't want to take it. My personal reasons. Rashi says he had an anisono. There was some issue over there with the guy that Rebbe Gamliel personally didn't want to take it from him. But it was mutter. So right away the Gemara jumps up and says, "Ma'aseh lister." That's the Gemara's kasha. That usually when the Mishnah brings a story, it's coming to bring a story to support what the Mishnah said. But here it brings a story that contradicts what the Mishnah said. The Mishnah said that if you're not sure, it's asa, and Rebbe Gamliel said if you're not sure, it's mutter. So that's the Gemara's kasha. So the Gemara says you're right. It's missing something. It's a machlokes taka. Some words are missing, and this is the proper way that it should be the Mishnah. Safek Muchan Aser. Tanakama said that if you don't know it's Aser, therefore Tanakama said that you have to know for sure that it was trapped before Yantif. Rabbi Gamliel Matir. The Machlokas, Mamash Machlokas. Safek Muchan, that according to Tanakama says, Rabbi Gamliel says it's mutter. Then it brings a story to support Rabbi Gamliel, not to support him, but there's a story about Rabbi Gamliel. The story is to show that Rabbi Gamliel holds that Safek Muchan is mutter. Like he did. He said it's really mutter. I don't want to take it for my personal reasons, but really it's mutter. So I'm machlokas now. Safek Muchan is a mutter or not? And the issue is that it's only Yisr Rabbanan. Just to point out that why should it be Yisr? It's only Yisr Rabbanan. So some say it has to do with the Gemara at the beginning of the Masechta that it's double sheish matirin. It's only Yisr on Yantif. After Yantif, it's going to surely be mutter. So since it's only a temporary Yisr, double sheish matirin, the Yisr is automatically going to go off. Maybe that's why we're matir even by a Safek Muchan. Maybe that's what the Gemara said in the beginning. Amavidah Mashmuel ein alacha Rabbi Gamliel. We don't pass like Rabbi Gamliel means Machmir. We say that Safek Muchan is us. Muktzah is us. Either Masti Laha, that some have the same issue, but different Brisa. Brisa which said beferish this issue. Safek Muchan, not in the Mishnah, but Safek Muchan Rabbi Gamliel Matir Rabbi Yeshua Osa. This Brisa said the name Rabbi Yeshua. Now Mishnah, you have no other name. Only Rabbi Gamliel is a Matir. Who's Tanakama? Doesn't say. But in the Brisa it says Rabbi Yeshua is the one who holds that it's Asa. Rabbi Gamliel is Matir, the same thing. On this, I'm Rabbi Yeshua that it's Asa. So again, the same idea. Safek Muchan is Asa. The Gemara is going to bring another version of the whole story, of the whole, not the story, but the halacha, that Safek Muchan is Asa. It's going to come out the same way. Safek Muchan is Asa, that's how we pass it. Here goes the third one. Some have this, the version, the reading of this Shmuel that says halacha is that it's Asa on the following brisa. So we turn the page. It says in the brisa, Shaltem Menani Gorin B'Yontif. So Rashi says that the Gorin means this biva. So you're allowed to take the animal out of the Bevor, the vivarium, which is closed in and it's small. On Yantif, Rashi says, why is it called a Nigo? Nago usually means a river, a brook. So Rashi says, because you make man-made brooks over there in order that the animal should have what to drink. So maybe there's different shot in Rashi, but the idea is that you're allowed to take the animal from there and shecht it because it's already trapped, fine. But not from traps. Why? Why not from the traps? Because even though it's trapped already, now there's no problem at all. It's surely trapped, but you don't know when it happened. And therefore, maybe it happened when it was today. And when Benish Moshes came, it was Muktzah, and therefore it's Asa. You can say so far, talk about the Yavadai. We don't know yet what does the Brisa mean. The trap means a trapped Vadai on Yantif. Now the rest of the Brisa is going to say, if you don't know. If you don't know when it happened, when did it get trapped? That's going to be the rest of the Brisa. So Rashi describes in the trap that it was very big. They had very big traps. And it was like, I guess it might have been some kind of, whatever it's made out of, whatever this net is made out of, is very long. And you could be far away from the place where the animal is actually caught. But you see that it gets moved around. The fact that it moved, let's say the animal gets caught in it, he moves around, and therefore, till now, the net came up until here. It might have been a mile long. Rashi says about a mil or a chatzi mil. It might have been very big. But now you see that something happened. Somebody moved it. So I could assume that the animal is the one who moved it, the one who got caught. And the fact that I see that, even though I'm very far away, when Yantif comes in, I see that the trap is not where I let it. It's rolled up. It's moved away. That means that I can imagine. I could assume that the trapping happened already, and therefore I could go there on Yantif and find the animal and say that it was trapped before Yantif, and it's not muktzah. But so it takes it literally that if I found that it happened on Yantif, so the two vadais, that if I know for sure that it happened before Yantif, so then it's mutter. If I know for sure it happened on Yantif, then it's asa. The Gemara's kasha is going to be, what if you don't know? That's going to be the Gemara's kasha. The word makulka means that it's not the way you left it, and even though you're far away from the actual scene, but I can tell from here when it happened. So the Brisa says that if it happened at Yantif, you know for sure that happened before Yantif. If it happened on Yantif, you know for sure that happened on Yantif, and it's asa. But Hogufa Kasha, the Brisa itself is self-contradictory. Time of the Baal Matzim Asurin. The beginning of the Brisa says that it's only mutter if you know for sure that it was happened before Yantif. It means by Ben Hashmoshes, before Yantif comes in, I go to the sea of the trap, I go to see the parts that's close to me. I go out of shul and I go to the trap, which is far away from the animal, but I see that it's not what it was. So I see that the trapping already took place, then it's mutter. But if I wouldn't know, then it's asa. If I only go in the morning and I see it, so I didn't check it Ben Hashmoshes, then it's asa because maybe it got trapped on Yantif. But then the Brisa in the end is the opposite deal. Amos Sefer, read on to the Sefer. Over there it says, if I know what happened on Yantif, the way the words seem to say, I know that happened on Yantif. It means Ben Hashmoshes was not yet trapped, and then it got trapped on Yantif. Then I know that it trapped on Yantif, and it's Asa, because it was Muktzah Ben Hashmoshes. But then it's Mashma only because you know for sure. Time of the bomb wasn't a stake of Yantif. I could assume, if I don't know, I could assume that it's mutter. So the Brisa is self-contradictory. So the Gemara explains that the way we understood. The Brisa seems to say that it's mutter only if you know for sure that it was before Yantif. That part read the way you did. That's the right way to read it. That if you found that Ben Hashmoshes, you found that it was already caught, because I see that it's not where it was, so I could assume that it was caught already, and therefore it's mutter. But stick in. If I'm not sure, then I have to be choshesh that it happened on Yantif. So the Brisa is not a contradiction in itself. The Brisa means to say you have to be sure that it was trapped before Yantif. If you go to Ben Hashmoshes, to the place where you see the trap, and you see that it's not where it was, that means that the animal is already caught, and I'm allowed to rely on this simon that it got curled up, whatever, it got folded back because the animal was caught, not that somebody else pulled it. I'm allowed to rely on the simon, and then it's mutter. But if you don't know, then it's asa. So
Rebbe, did you say that the main hesber is because it's treated like a davar sheyesh lo matirin?
I mentioned that, yeah. That the reason why, even though it means the question, why should it be us? Why should it be us? All these Gemaras say 3 times, either on our Mishnah or on a Brisa, on this Brisa, that Safek Muchan is asa. According to Tanakama, Rabbi Yeshua, and Rav Shimon ben Elazar, maybe Rav Gamliel argues, but those who say that it's asa. Those who say that it's asa, why is it asa? It's only Safek Rabbanan. So the hesper goes on the Gemara in the beginning of the Masechta because Safek Sheish Lo Matirin.
Within the Rabbanan of Muktzah,
that even though it's Rabbanan, but even under Rabbanan, Dav Sheish Lo Matirin, so we're Machmir. The Gemara in the beginning of the Masechta spoke about being Somach on Bittul and things like that. But here also the Safek, the reason why Safek is asa is because Davar Sheish Lo Matirin were asa even by Rabbanan. The Gemara continues. Mutar Lamai. So we're going. This is not halach anymore because we pass in Safek Muchan is asa. He just finished passing that it's asa. But the question is, Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel is the one who says that it's mutar. We don't pass like him. But what did he mean to say? So it's not halacha Gemara. This is the only question. What did Rabbi Gamliel mean to say? Mutar Lamai. But what is it mutar? Rav Amma mutar lekabel. Lev Yama mutar leachila. Rav says it's mutar to receive it. You're not allowed to eat it. Even according to Rabbi Gamliel, was not matter to eat it. He does was matter that it shouldn't be muktzah to move. You're allowed to receive it, but not that you're allowed to eat it. Even according to Rabbi Gamliel. But Levi Yama mutar leachila. Levi says even allowed to eat it. Rav here goes Hamagarata. La'olam al yimna adam asma beis medrash afilu shachas. A person should not hold himself back from the beis medrash even for one period of time. And he's going to say that I gained this halacha only because I was there at a time that Levi wasn't there. Rav and Levi had a machlokes, and Rav is going to say that both him and Levi heard something from Rebbe, and the reason why Rav knew differently is because he was there at the next session where Levi was not. And you see that it's important to come to the beis medrash again and again, even though you've been there already, come again, you might miss something. I and Levi both were in front of Rebbe when he said this halacha. This halacha about what did Rav Gamliel hold? Rav Gamliel says Safek Muchan is mutter. What does it mean? To eat, just to receive it. So at night, I was there together with Levi, and Rebbe Taka said that it's mutter even to eat. In the evening, both of us were there. He said even allowed to eat it according to Rav Gamliel. But in the morning, I was there, and he wasn't there. But Safra, in the morning, Rebbe had Charata. Rebbe retracted, and he said something else. But Safra Amar Mutar L'Kaba. In the morning, Rebbe changed his mind, and he said, the only allowed to accept it according to Rav Gamliel, you're not allowed to eat it. I was there, Levi wasn't there. I was there in the beis medrash, so I retracted because I heard that Rebbe retracted. But Levi, the law of the midrash, lo other bay. He wasn't there, that's why he didn't retract. But he's making a mistake because I heard that Rebbe that he retracted. So this is all a question in Rav Gamliel. And what does he hold? Is it mutter even to eat, or is it only mutter to receive? It's not muktzah, but it's not mutter to eat. Meisvei.
What is the mitzvah?
Safek Muchan. You don't know the Hashmoshes if it was trapped already. Now it's already trapped. There's no problem about trapping. It's already in the trap. But you don't know when it happened. If it happened on Yom Tov, it's asa because Ben Hashmoshes was asa. If it happened before, it's mutter. You don't know. Safek Muchan. Rabbi Shul that it's asa. We passed that it's asa. Rabbi Gamliel said that it's mutter. How much is Rabbi Gamliel matter? Maybe even to eat. Rav says no, only to receive it. It's not muktzah to move, but it's not muktzah, but it's muktzah to eat. Meisvei Kasha from a Brisa about this issue.
So you can be metalchim.
According to Rav Gamliel.
And according to Rav?
Rav says, that's what Rav says. Rav says you're allowed to be metaltal according to Rav Gamliel, but not more. Even Rav Gamliel wouldn't be metaltal more. We don't pass like all this. We pass like Rabbanan, like a Bishua, that everything's muksa. You're not allowed to even accept it. But the only issue is, according to Rav Gamliel, who's matir. What was he matir? Meisvei, kash from a brisa, naf mishevi dar only Yisrael, afilu dargim am fulamin, uperas b'nei yoman, mutarin. If a guy brought a present to a Jew, even dargim mufulamin. Rashi, I forgot what the word mufulamin means. Rashi says, lachim, moist fish, fresh fish. He brings fresh fish, so that means it's pretty suspicious that it's from today. And Peres ben Yoman, which literally means that it was just picked today, it's mutter. Now that's impossible, because if the guy brings something which was picked today, then Ashmash surely was asa. And if it was caught, the fish were caught today, it's surely asa. And even wheels are only matter when it's a suffix. If it's a vadai, then surely it's asa. So the Brisa doesn't make sense the way you read it literally. First, the Gemara says that what does it mean mutter? The Gemara is going to ask a question, which I don't. The Gemara is going to say right away it doesn't make sense. But the Gemara, let's read the words. The Gemara says, according to Rav, that says that Rav Gamliel, this price is surely Rav Gamliel, because according to Rabbanan, according to Rabbi Yeshua, we pass him that suffix is asa. But the Gemara is asking, even Rav Gamliel, the price of Rav Gamliel, but if you say that it's still a kabel, I can understand that it's mutter, seemingly, even though it was caught today. If it was just today, it was picked off, it was harvested today, or the fish was caught today, is a mutter to eat. But the Gemara says, Yikasha doesn't make sense. Why are you saying it's good according to mutter l'kabel? It's also l'kabel also. Why are you saying it doesn't make sense what you just said? That if you hold this only not muksa, to touch, to move, then it's understandable why it's mutter, even if it was today. Does that make sense? It's not true. If it was for sure today, it's going to be mutter to move. It's not mutter to move either. It's the whole thing doesn't make sense. So you have to change it. It means that it looks very fresh, and it might have been from today, but it doesn't mean that's for sure from today. Kabri dadimi means that kabri means fish, dadimi means red, means it looks very fresh, but not for sure that it's from today. And peri the kvishi biyarka means the fruit are pickled, not pickled, buried in vegetables. So I guess it means that it stays very fresh. Rashi says it keeps
preserved. The word preserved.
Preserved, but it doesn't mean. It just seems to be a good word. But the word kavish literally usually would mean pickled, but if not pickled, Rashi says that it means buried. It's buried. Tamun. Rashi says that it's buried in fruit and vegetables. So I don't know about this, but if anybody tries it, that if you take fruit and you bury them in vegetables, so they're going to stay fresh, they'll stay moist. So it's just another way of saying that it looks very suspicious, that maybe a big chance that it was picked today and that the fish were caught today, but still it's mutter because it's still a suffix. Because Rav Gamliel, this is all Rav Gamliel talking. Rav Gamliel holds that a suffix is mutter, and even though it's a suspicious suffix, because there's a very good chance it was today, but no, it's possible that it was from yesterday. It's still permissible, and then you can't bring it around anymore if it's mutter to eat or mutter to just not to be muksa, because Rav Gamliel might, if you hold that it's mutter even to eat, be mutter to eat also. Why is the Brisa say that it's only today's? If you're saying it was yesterday, possible yesterday's, that it's similar to today's means it's fresh like today's, but it doesn't mean that it's today's for sure. Then it surely will be also. Then we'll stop over here. The Gemara continues still, but just a few more lines. So we'll continue ready tomorrow. It goes into a new sugya. And just to sum up today's Gemaras, the first Mishnah was about Seder, that you're not allowed to trap on Yantif, even though you'd be allowed to kill the animals and kill the fish and chef the chaya open order to eat it, but you're not allowed to trap. And Rashi tells you about why you're not allowed to trap on Yantif, but you're not allowed to. Same like tzira and other things you're not allowed to do all the malachas fochel nefesh. What's considered trapping? So it comes out that halacha chayiv ofos, if they're in a small enclosure, that the shiurim that the Gemara said before about catching it in one chase, and that the shade, the shadow covers the whole area, or that there's no protrusion that stops you, that allows the animal to avoid you, to dodge you. So then it's considered trapped. And it has to be that small. And also the Gemara says a share afterwards that you don't need a net in order to trap it. So then it's considered trapped, you'd be allowed to take it out. But if it would be bigger than that, then it's not considered trapped, then you wouldn't be allowed to take it out. Also, the Gemara mentioned about a sparrow, that even if it's in a smaller enclosure, but they feel very comfortable, so therefore it's still considered trapped. The same idea would be, I think the same yesod applies, that you have to be able to catch it in one spring, in one chase. Fish is the most chomer that the parak starts off. That fish is usher, because even though it's in a small pond, and the Mefarshim explains since it's covered by the water, so they're considered not in your reach. And the post can talk about if it's clear water, maybe they're not considered undercover. Machlokes in the post some post can make if it's clear water, then and it's a small area, a small pond, you would be able to catch them. And if you can catch in one chase, also it'd be mutter. Otherwise, that also would be awesome. That's all as far as. Yes.
There's a way of catching fish people catch fish in their hands. It's called
Yes.
tickling their belly in Scotland. They catch it in their
But
hands.
how do they get? Why is the fish? Why does the fish not run away? Not slide away? It's so easy to
So
catch them?
they tickle it actually goes into the hand. They
Yeah.
tickle their bellies.
How do you get there? How do you get so
They tickle
close?
their belly.
How do you get so close that the fish allows you to tickle his belly? Like he's running.
No, you hold your hand out and this fish just swims in there out of curiosity.
Right.
and-
So it could be that it's in a way that if it's a very small area that they're, but if you wouldn't, if they're in an open area, then it's considered l'chora trapping. The only issue here is talking about it's a closed area, like this kind of veva, some kind of a aquarium, some kind of a pond where it's already closed in, and the question only is how big it is. And that the post can say that even if it's very small, if it's under cover of water, so then they're considered not caught yet. You have to dig into the water to catch them. And the post can say maybe if it's clear water, maybe it's more lenient, but it also has to be very small that they're only catching them, like you say, in one jump. Then it'll be caught. That's all as far as trapping goes. Also, the Gemara spoke about birds, chicken and geese, that they come home naturally and they need you for food, so they're considered trapped. And therefore, on Shabbos, even if you catch them, they're not considered Seder or not considered Seder. The next Mishnah, which we just spoke about now, was that not a question of Seder, it's trapped. But the question was, then when did it get trapped? It's mamish caught in the trap. But when did it happen? If it happened on Yantiv, so it's too late, because when Spanish Moshes was, it was still Muktzah, and then even though now it's trapped, it's Asa. So that's a question of Safek Mukhan. If it happened on Yantiv Sholi, it's Asa, because of Muktzah, not because of Seder. But if it happened before, then it's Muktzah. It happened, on Yantiv, it's Muktzah. It happened before Yantiv, it's Mutter, because it's already trapped and it's not Muktzah. And the question was Safek. What do you know if you don't know? So Machlokes in the Mishnah, and Rabbi Zabrisa, Rabbi Shua is the one who answers, or Gamliel's mater. We pass him like Rabbi Shua. It's Asa, Safek Muchan, it's Asa. We mentioned maybe the reason is because Tavashesh Lamatir, that's why Sasa, even though it's a Rabbanan. And the last thing we just had a question in Rabbi Gamliel, who's mater, which don't pass him like him. What did he mean to be mater? Was he mater only that it shouldn't be muksa, or even mater to eat it? And Rav says the reason why he knows the truth is because he came to the shir the next morning and later he missed it. The Gemara says that a person should always be going to the Beis Medrash, not say I was there already. You should go again and hear something that didn't hear the time before. So that halacha is Safek Mukhan is Asa. Okay, Yashikar everybody. We'll see a good Moyed, a good Bach, and tomorrow Bez Hashem at 11 o'clock.
Rebbe,
Yashikar,
Very much.
please.
yeah, Rebbe, I have a joke for you.
Okay.
Good night, Rebbe.
What's a sphere trap?
I don't know.
A son-in-law who's somech al shulchano.
Uh-huh. Yashikar. Thank you.